Dr. Anurag Batra, members of the GC community, the winners and others, the would-be winners next time. So first of all, let me wholeheartedly, sincerely thank Dr. Anurag Batra for all the kind words he said about me and also giving me the privilege to be the chair of jury. And I must tell you, this has been one of the most enlightening and refreshing experience which I had, even though at a distance, as he said. I was in Singapore when we conducted the jury meeting. A very outstanding team of jury members who knew everything about everybody, and we did it in a record time because we prepared the short list and then we had to cut down to the requisite number. Amazing process, amazing team, and for me it was a tremendous learning experience, I can say. Dr. Batra said a few things about me. I wouldn't have said anything about him otherwise, but since he said it, let me also add one or two words, that I am one of his great admirers, not because I want to reciprocate what he said, for a number of reasons, and I only mention one or two. One is that I like this exchange for media immensely because this was one of my learning sites about the new technologies and so on, and I tried to find out who is the owner and publisher, got his name, and when I reached out to him, I thought he's a live wire. Within a few minutes came the reply, whether on email or whether on telephone calls, and whatever I wanted was done in a record time. In a few minutes and everything was done. So I didn't experience this kind of a thing when I was working in the government and dealing with the private sector people also, but he was amazing. So this was one of the reasons. And secondly, I found that although he was running the magazine, it was not, as he said very rightly, not in the magazine business. It was more in development process, development of various sectors and recognizing and celebrating excellence. So many things which, as a development practitioner like me who has worked for several decades, I'm 1968 batch of IAS, so worked for over 50 years in the government or government related work. And I think what he has been doing is something which all the government officials and public sector enthusiasts would like to do to make a difference in various sectors and what is required to be done. Mr. Datta mentioned about a few phases, a few categories of GCs and what they are supposed to do, how it developed. I would like to share one or two experiences, although I had brought a prepared speech, but I thought it is probably not needed here because much of what I would have liked to said has already been said by him and my friend, Mr. Anurag Batra. He mentioned about these four phases, it's fine. I would only like to add something from my experience. When I was India's executive director on the World Bank board, I came across several situations. I found that GC was probably the most important person, the go-to person for most of the senior officials. And I'll tell you one interesting story. The head of HR once, he was facing a big problem, a dilemma, that he was under pressure to do something about one person, which he didn't want to do. And he was sort of forced into a situation that he would have lost his job if he didn't do it. So he asked some of his friends what to do. So they said, why don't you consult the GC? Now GC, as I said, is the go-to person who knows the nubs pata hai us sab cheezon ki kya ho raha hai, jaise दाई को पेट दिखाना होता है. So he asked him, and the GC said, okay, I understand what you are saying. What I suggest you do is, you write a mail to yourself. Whenever you are pressured to do something, you write a mail to yourself that you were called at so and so time and this is what you were told to do and this is why you cannot do it or this is why what you feel and all that. Describe in full detail. So he started writing these mails to himself and finally came an occasion when that superior guy had to be, was in problem and the board of directors met to dispense with his services. And the inquiry was held and in the inquiry came various charges and this was one of the charge. And this evidence came which was incontrovertible that if the mail, the entire record exists, what happened. So this was a concluding, a clinching evidence is what happened. And there's a long story, I didn't want to do to that. The point I was trying to make is that GC gave him an advice, which was a very good advice and the entire board appreciated, and so also many other people who subsequently felt that GC probably was the go-to person in many situations. While working in USA, I also came across several situations in the corporate sector when I noticed, and I hope that there is a documented study on this subject, empirical evidence or something. Some of the most successful companies, the corporations which were doing very well, I think one of the reasons was that the GCs were very wise people there. And GCs also rose to become practically number 2 or number 3, and I have a number of instances, I mean, even in Google, for example, Ken Walker there, who is the chief legal counsel of GC, rose to become number 2 or number 3, and many others I know. So they know what is to be done, what is not to be done, and when it should be done. So for all compliances, and for compliance these days, there is no dearth of areas when something needs to be done or something needs not to be done. And I mean, I've been working in the competition commission, and I can only tell you that as chairman of the competition commission, when the cases came before me, a number of complex cases, and we had very eminent lawyers sometimes. In one case, one of the former attorney general appeared. And we used to get all kinds of arguments and very impressive arguments. When you felt that your mind was completely clouded and cluttered and what to be done, I would request, I could see that the general counsel was sitting behind the arguing counsel, so I would request him to kindly come forward and briefly tell us what exactly is the matter. And I mean, he would tell in 5-10 minutes. The others, of course, would have taken hours or whatever they are paid by that time, this thing. So you would get a complete picture of what is going on. Now, these days, the GCs have to look into various issues of environment, and Dr. Anurag Batra mentioned about this. And by the way, ESG he mentioned, I can tell you again, when I was in the World Bank, I was also on the board of IFC, International Financial Corporation. And one of the factors which was seen while judging a company's worth for being considered or approved the loan was also its ranking or quotient on the ESG. And this is what I was mentioning to one of my friends today, that if you are going for an IPO, it would do a great service to your company if you undertake some of the ESG related work also, both for your suppliers as also for your buyers. So this one, environment, then there are a number of laws relating to insolvency, money laundering, anti-bribery, trade, health, safety, employment, company, international trade, foreign exchange. Data privacy is again something which is new, which didn't exist earlier, but they should know everything about it. Intellectual property, and of course, Competition Commission, which is something which I always like to talk. This morning, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, in his keynote address, also referred to what the Supreme Court mentioned in the case of Bar Council of India versus A.K. Balaji, that practice of law include litigation as well as non-litigation, and this also is the stand of the Bar Council of India, he confirmed. And general counsels, they who are qualified lawyers, I mean, they may not be practicing law yet, but they help the lawyers, external lawyers, prepare the brief they give them. And also they have, the Supreme Court has observed that these are qualified lawyers who have passed law examination as prescribed by the Bar Council of India, and they are practicing the profession of law, though within the corporate sector. So what I feel that it means that they could well be considered to be worthy of practicing law. The role of general counsels in economy is absolutely crucial. It is something which currently, as was mentioned by Mr. Datta, after 91, in the present era of corporate development, the legal compliance, the risk management, the corporate governance, contract negotiation and management, dispute resolution, litigation, compliance programs, corporate transactions, strategic advisor, they have lot of clout, I can tell you. And of course, I can notice in India, they have a lot of clout, but in USA, for example, I noticed that they enjoyed a lot of clout in various meetings and get-togethers. People, if there was a GC, probably people would like to meet him, just more than probably like the CEO, because he would be able to help them more and also create nuisance if it is required, more than the CEO. So GCs have a tremendous importance in the corporate world, and I felt really privileged, and I must thank Dr. Anurag Batra for giving me this privilege to be on the jury and chair the jury for GCs. And this also gave me an opportunity to know a little bit more about the GCs and their brilliance. And today, when we are celebrating their brilliance in this award function, I would like to heartily congratulate them and hope that they would further sharpen their brilliance and go from ladder to up the ladder. And I'm so happy to hear from Dr. Batra that they propose to hold it more than once a year and at different places. And it should, they would definitely be the home page. They are the home page for GCs, and I hope to remain connected with them for this. With these words, once again, my heartiest congratulations to all the winners, and those who could not win this time, I'm sure next year would probably be definitely another opportunity for them for this regard. Thank you once again for this opportunity and wish you all the best. Thank you.